Just get pregnant and your employer won't be able to fire you. That's so funny. Oh my god. This part is crazy. Someone asks if I've considered doing OnlyFans. Isn't that super hard? I thought it's really hard to make money on OnlyFans. I have considered, what did you do with your health insurance after losing your job? Why are you making videos and posting shitty posts instead of looking for jobs? What other visa options do I have if I am laid off on a work visa? Hi everyone, it's Vivian. I did not expect my last video about layoff would blow up and get so many views and comments, and I saw some pretty crazy comments and questions in the comment section. I also saw some really practical and good questions in the comment section, so I want to talk about them in today's video. So before I get started, I want to shout out to Nicole, who helped me put together this list of questions. I've got some very good questions about layoff. So the first question is the layoff official if you only heard from your coworker and not your employer? So I forgot to mention in that video, a few hours after my coworker called me, I got an email from HR that included all the exit documents and all the details that I needed to know about the layoff. So yes, there was an official notice. Okay, next question. Why would you travel internationally on a work visa? I did see a few questions like this, but I am really not the only person traveling internationally on a work visa. All my friends did this, have done this, are doing this. I think maybe a few decades ago, people would stay here for 7 years or 10 years without leaving the US border in order to get their green card before they secure their green card. But nowadays, people just, travel. They have families overseas. Editor Vivian here. I think what I was trying to say here is that traveling is very normalized nowadays. Everyone is traveling on a visa. Also, none of the lawyers or legal counsels I've spoken to had advised against traveling. Attorney Jackson also mentioned that he doesn't advise against traveling on a work visa in the other video, but there are some nuances, so go check out that video if you're unsure about traveling on a visa. Just want to visit them once a year. For me, I don't really travel anywhere else besides Taiwan to visit my family. So why would I travel internationally on the work visa? Because I wanted to see my family, and that's that simple. And most importantly, there were no signs of layoff, even though we've been asking our manager and our manager's manager whether there would be upcoming layoffs. We were assured time after time that there were no upcoming layoffs. So I thought it would be safe for me to travel. And also, I really only travel once a year to Taiwan, and it was the first time I went anywhere else besides Taiwan after starting working full-time. I thought it would be safe to travel for 2 or 3 weeks and nothing would happen during the 2 or 3 weeks I was gone, so I took a calculated risk that unfortunately came true. Next question. Just get pregnant and your employer won't be able to fire you. That's a very interesting take. But a follower of mine who lives in Arizona reached out to me and shared her personal story with me, and I got her consent to share the story in my video. So it's very interesting because she got fired when she was almost due. So here's her story. I am the only person making money in my family, and my husband stays at home and takes care of our children. I was almost 9 months pregnant with my second child when I was laid off. I was on an H-1B visa and in the process of getting my employer-sponsored green card. My employer only gave me 1 day to consider and sign the severance agreement. The HR told me that if I signed the severance agreement, they would keep my employment status and insurance active until I gave birth. They threatened to end my employment status and insurance immediately if I didn't sign the severance agreement. I consulted an employment lawyer, and my employment lawyer suggested that I sign for the following reasons. First, it would be hard to prove that there was a discrimination. Second, even if I won the lawsuit, the compensation would be very little. Third, I would lose my H-1B status and insurance if I didn't sign. Considering I was almost 9 months pregnant and the only source of income in my family, I signed the severance agreement. That's a really sad story, but I think because suing your employer is so time consuming and hiring a lawyer could be so expensive, and the potential outcome, aka the compensation you might get from winning the lawsuit, can be very little. I think most people don't really go down that route to sue their employer, even if there is discrimination or unlawful firing and things like that. So yeah, I don't think you can just get pregnant and avoid being laid off, I feel like. And also the legal department and HR department in companies, they are so knowledgeable and they know how to not leave evidence, and they know how to work around regulations and make you sign the severance agreement. And once you sign the agreement, you can't sue them. So there is a huge power imbalance and like knowledge gap between the employee being fired and the legal department from a big company. So the odds, I don't know. The odds are not with us. But if you want to try getting pregnant, I guess you can. Next question, what did you do with your health insurance after losing your job? So I stopped paying for my health insurance after losing my job. So there's this thing called COBRA in America, which pretty much just allows you to continue the insurance you had with your former employer, but you have to pay the full price. So after I got laid off, I looked into my health insurance, and I realized the monthly payment for my health insurance would be close to $1,000. At that time, I was only using therapy. I wasn't really using other like healthcare services. So I thought I could just pay for, therapy full price out of pocket without health insurance if I needed therapy. So I just stopped paying for my health insurance. But that said, I think there are cheaper insurance options from the marketplace or from your state government, I think. I'm not sure. I didn't look into that, but I know there are cheaper options, and you can look into those if you have needs for a certain medication or a certain healthcare service. But yeah, I didn't. I just stopped. I don't have health insurance now. Okay, this is very interesting. A few people ask me about language. So the first question is, why do you speak so slow? As you can tell, English isn't my first language. My first language is Mandarin Chinese. I was born and raised in Taiwan. I grew up going to public schools. I never had the privilege to go to an American school or an international school where they speak English all the time. The first time I studied abroad was when I was 20 for a semester in New Zealand. And I didn't move to the US for my master's degree until I was 23. Yeah, so that's why my English sucks and my English is so slow. Someone says, you speak so slow, I have to speed up your video. Then speed it up. The feature is there for a reason. Also, they changed the feature. They changed it to like a slide bar. You can make it 1.8 or 1.3, which weren't available before. But please speed it up if you need to. I personally love speeding up videos on YouTube. The other reason I speak very slowly, aside from English not being my first language, is that if I speak slower, there would be less filler words and it would be a lot easier for me to edit. That saves me a lot of time. That's the other reason. Why did you change your channel language to English? That's a good question. So I used to make videos in Chinese only. There was one video where I interviewed 戏骨小美术. She's a 3D artist in the Bay Area, and then we talked about Layoff, and that video got a lot of views compared to my other videos. It was an 1 hour long, oh, the cats are here. It was a 1 hour long video. I did my best to add subtitles and stuff, but Taiwanese people, they hate seeing typos in subtitles. And even though I did my best proofreading subtitles and making sure like there are as few typos as possible in the video, there were still some typos and people were complaining about it in the comment section. So I was like, okay, you know what? I am going to start making videos in English and let the software translate it for me, because I realized there are less typos if the software translates the subtitles from English to Chinese. So yeah, that's one reason. The other reason is I want to practice speaking English. As I said, my English kind of sucks, and especially in interviews, job interviews or professional meetings, I stutter a lot. It takes longer for me to come up with words and choose like the most precise expression or phrases. I thought I might as well just use this as an opportunity to practice my English. What languages do you speak? I speak Mandarin Chinese. That's my first language. I speak English. I speak Japanese conversationally. I speak a little French, Korean, and Indonesian. Enough to let me go around, travel around, bargain, and order food. And I also speak Hokkien, aka Taiwanese. It's a dialect. I don't speak it very well. I can understand like 90% of it, but I'm not very good at speaking it because it has 6 or 7 intonation, and my pronunciation is really bad. Why is your English fluent? I practice a lot since elementary school. I remember I have this vocabulary book that's probably this thick that I would bring to the school every single day in 5th grade and 6th grade. And during break time, I would be memorizing vocabulary. And I started doing a lot of English speech competitions around 6th grade. And I've done like more than 20 or 30 competitions throughout the school years. So I think that's how I improved my pronunciation and accent. Oh, I read English novels. I listened to only English music. I watched mostly English YouTube videos, English movies, English TV shows. So a lot of things I read and listen to are English, and I think that really helps me with my speaking. Okay, moving on. There is a question about job searching. Someone says, why are you making videos and posting shitty posts instead of looking for jobs? I started looking for jobs before I got laid off. And as many of you know, the job market in the States now hasn't been the best. I had interviews lined up even before I went on the trip in Japan and Taiwan. But because I got laid off when I was in Japan, so I scheduled the interview to an earlier day before my trip ended. So I actually started having job interviews when I was still on vacation in Taiwan. I think the underlying assumption of having to look for jobs and not allowing yourself to do anything else before you find a job is very interesting, because I think it's actually very common in Taiwan, and I definitely had that belief when I was younger, I should look for an internship, I should study hard, and I should find a job, I should get really rich or save up enough money before I can start enjoying my life. But life is happening now. One thing I realized recently is you don't need to get to a certain level, or you don't need to have certain achievement to start doing things you like or things that brings you joy and makes you happy. You can always do those things while fulfilling your responsibilities and obligations. Job searching is very boring. I imagine very few people enjoy job searching, and 3 to 4 hours a day is the most I could do. So that leaves 10 plus hours of free time in a day, and I gotta do something with that time, right? If you're job searching, I hope you don't push yourself too hard. I hope you leave enough time for yourself to rest and play and work on projects you've always wanted to work on when you were employed but didn't have the time to. Make sure you have a balanced life, and make sure you have other focus areas besides your job. What other visa options do I have if I am laid off on a work visa? I have a video with attorney Jack Song. He is a very experienced immigration lawyer. He's super knowledgeable, and we covered that, all the potential visa and green card options in that video. So if you're interested, please check that out. Jack is awesome. Okay, now is my favorite. Okay, some very personal questions. That's so funny. Oh my god. This part is crazy. A few people said, marry me. Thank you so much for your invitation. Never have I thought that people would be proposing to me on YouTube in my comment section, so thank you. Actually, a lot of people ask me if I consider moving to Europe. I do not have plans to move to Europe at the moment, and the reason is that I am I feel settled down in New York. I've been in New York for 7 years. I'm not someone who is very good at dealing with moving and changes. Like traveling kind of stresses me out. Moving to a new country stresses me out. Having to learn a new language stresses me out. I love Europe so much. It's so beautiful. And then I know that social welfare and healthcare is a lot better than the States. But another question, someone says, being laid off is very personal. I don't understand why anyone would make video about it. I can see how being laid off or losing your job can be a personal thing that you don't want to share on the internet. But when I got laid off on vacation outside of the United States, it was one of the scariest moments because there wasn't a lot of information online about people being in the same situation. And I wish there were more people sharing things like this, so I knew what to do. I mean, that's the intention I had when I was making my last video about layoff. This is an interesting argument because if you think about it, anything is very personal. Like being sick is personal, getting a surgery is personal, having a certain disease, being laid off, getting a job, getting married, getting divorced, relationships. But people talk about these things all the time, and I think that's because these are common human experiences. And I think the most personal things are also the things that make us human and make us feel connected on a human level. Is that how you say it? I think as human beings, we just want to see ourselves reflected in another person or in other people. And that's how we feel less lonely and how we feel more secure, more connected. I can see why you don't like that if you're a very private person. Personally, I like hearing about other people's journey, like how they dealt with hardships in their lives and how they overcome really hard things, and how they overcome challenges, the emotional struggles, like all the good stuff. I love hearing about those things. So I think that's why people make videos like this. Oh my God, this is crazy. Someone asks if I've considered doing OnlyFans. Isn't that super hard? I thought it's really hard to make money on OnlyFans. I have considered doing OnlyFans, but then I realized I don't have the face or the body to do OnlyFans. I feel like you have to be very pretty or have very pretty feet to make money on OnlyFans. And I don't think I have either. It would be great if I can make a lot of money from OnlyFans and retire early, but I don't think I have what it takes to succeed on OnlyFans. But I have thought about it, if that's what you're asking. And no, I'm not offended by this question at all. I think it's a very legitimate question. Thank you so much for all the questions. They're so fun to answer, and Anna, really appreciate you for taking your precious time to leave a comment or a question. That really helped with the algorithm and letting more people see the video. And yeah, and then I want to say thank you to whoever sends me a DM or email trying to cheer me up, telling me how the videos have helped them. That's really sweet of you, and that really kept me going when I was really down. I was really down for a month and a half last year. So thank you so much. As always, please like and subscribe. YouTube data says 98% of you are not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe this video. Leave a comment. It can be good, it can be bad. Just leave a comment, let me know your opinion, what you think. And as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.